everybody. How you doing? Um, Hi, y'all got some good waves. I'm Carrie Fulton, and I'm been working in the environmental justice sector since I was in undergrad here at Howard University. And that has been a critical component when we think about not just climate change. Oftentimes, it seems like a nuanced conversation where we're not always at the table. And you can say that a lot with Bitcoin technology as well, and not just Bitcoin, but blockchain in general. So I really wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that. As mentioned, I also have been working in this sector. I work here at Howard in our growing interdisciplinary environmental studies program. So that's really awesome to see the growth of this technology as well as the growth of how we talk about our environment. And these two things play really, really closely together. You can learn more about the work that I do on a personal level at checktheweather.net. Like, check the weather. Is it raining? Is it snowing? I don't know. Checktheweather.net.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gerard Newkirk. I am the co-founder and CEO of Genesis Block Labs. We started this with a mission to build the entrepreneur class about 3 years ago. So we manage 3 brands in order to advance entrepreneurship. We manage a Genesis Block Academy. It also has an incubator, and we have a minority accelerator, and we also have a digital learning academy, with the focus being, regardless of where an entrepreneur is, whatever stage they are in their entrepreneurship journey, we have a curriculum that's credentialized in order to support them going to the next level. We also manage a food hall incubator called Block Eats, where we partner with local food entrepreneurs in order to get them lower their costs for getting access to the market. About 47% of Black-owned businesses are in the food industry, and obviously one of the biggest barriers is the $250,000 that it takes if you're going to go into a brick and mortar location. So a lot of our platforms are to lower the costs and barriers for access. And the final brand that we manage is called Genesis Bridge, where it's a technology platform aimed at connecting diverse-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses to contracting opportunities. We were recently awarded a contract by Duke Energy, Microsoft, Kroger, and T-Mobile called Diversity and Clean Energy. So we're building a national database of the over 9.3 million diverse-owned businesses in the country, to over 2 million Black-owned businesses in the country. And so we want to connect them to the larger global clean energy value chain with our software platform. And I'm also the founder of KWH Coin. I actually started that back in 2017 with the mission to connect the at the time it was over 1.2 billion people in the world that didn't have energy access. Now it's evolved into we've built an energy asset management platform. And we're really focused on the Caribbean, Latin American markets, and more mature markets. We're focused on empowering you with your energy data to be your own energy company. So KWH Coin is going to now integrate into the platform that we're building with Duke Energy and Microsoft. So I'm very excited to be here. I haven't been here in a couple of years, and so thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, my name is Michael Abraha. I'm the NFT lead on the Tigray Art Collective. Our mission is to fundraise and raise awareness to the ongoing genocidal war happening in Ethiopia. The Tigray region has been locked from food, electricity, and also humanitarian aid services because of this conflict. So I'm here as an activist and also trying to merge technology into our ecosystem. Aside from that, I have also worked in product management. I'm working on front-end development for mobile products. Also the Web3 lead on an app development agency currently. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raven Moore. I'm a CPA in the state of Texas, and I've been working and specializing in oil and gas companies for the last 10, 12 years. So my full-time job, I work in oil and gas, and I prepare the public information that goes out for our company. My company is actually coming into the Bitcoin space and offering insurance for Bitcoin miners. So I have been very involved with learning about how Bitcoin works with the energy industry. Along with that, I'm also the partner at a company called Crypto EQ. With Crypto EQ, we provide education and research so that the everyday person can learn how to do their own research and learn and understand crypto from a fundamental level. And along with that, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I invest in real estate, and I also have a small-scale streetwear brand as well.
So Raven and I are going to share a mic. The saying is, you sell the rumor and you buy the news. So rumor has it. Did I get that right? Okay. I did it backwards. So you sell the, buy the rumor, sell the news. Okay. Then an analogy doesn't work. But what I'm saying is the rumor has it that this space is not environmentally friendly. And because it is not environmentally friendly, it really should be checked and stopped because it's especially not good for black people. We have actually been used as an example of people who will be victimized by the fact that this sector is not environmentally friendly. What is your opinion on that rumor?
I can take this one. To me, I think it's a really just a big misunderstanding. So people conflate energy usage with like wasteful energy usage, or there are energy uses that they come from solar and wind. So there is renewable energy, there is clean energy. All energy usage is not bad. And then when we look at Bitcoin mining specifically, you can see over 60%, I believe the number is 66% of the energy mix of Bitcoin is coming from clean and renewable sources. So we really need to be specific about what we're saying when we say it, or what those people are saying, because Bitcoin does use energy to secure its network, but most of it is clean and renewable energy, and what it's being used for is very valuable. So you need to understand why energy is used to create Bitcoin. To understand that, you need to understand why Bitcoin is valuable. So if you don't value Bitcoin, you'll think it's all wasteful. So once you get that fundamental understanding of why Bitcoin is valuable, I think then you can have an honest conversation about, okay, that's why it uses energy. So then you can start to understand how it's good or is it not good, and how we can make it better.
Thank you.
Sure. To kind of add to that, I would say when we look at pollution and energy consumption, we also have to take into consideration what are the largest sources of pollution. So for an example, farming, cattle farming specifically, is one of the largest sources of pollution in our environment globally. So there are many other methods that we can take into becoming more environmentally friendly, and shifting into sustainable methods of extracting energy is what we need to take into consideration, because crypto mining, or whether it's Ethereum, now Ethereum is moving on to proof of stake, but essentially what the crypto ecosystem has done for the environment is a fraction of what is actually occurring, whether it's farming, whether it's coal mining and all these other sources of energy extraction. So transitioning into sustainable use cases such as electrical vehicles, solar panels, wind energy, like you said, Raven. I think we as a society can start subsidizing such as these use cases. The government also has done a good job, whether it's here or overseas, subsidizing clean energy usage. So we should put our energy towards that.
So yeah, I would say that it's not a rumor. There's actual fact that's a part of that. And part of that is not just around the energy consumed, but where people live in relationship to that energy production. So yes, a part of it may come from clean energy sources, but not all clean energy sources are equal. So you have things like geothermal, you have things like nuclear that also go under clean energy, that also have their own risks when we talk about communities of color. And for Black people specifically, we are more likely to live closer to these industrial plants, to these toxic facilities than any other group. Now, when we think about that in context, we also have to think about power and privilege. So the gentleman brought up electric vehicles as a use study, but when we think about those subsidies, those rebates, are we able, as all people, to equitably take advantage of those new technologies? So if you don't put things in on the front end, to protect and build in equity first, then you're going to have a larger problem down the line. So you already have federal recommendations that are starting to come out about voluntary caps on energy use when it comes to blockchain technology. And these are just voluntary. So what that means is that it could not happen at all. But if we're talking about trying to reduce our energy consumption so that we can stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius of increase in how much our globe is warming up and how that changes our climate, we already know that Black people, and I'm speaking specifically about Black people because we could talk about the larger context of people of color, but I want to talk specifically about us. We are already hurt first and worst by the climate crisis. And if we create technology that increases our energy use, you know, whether it be through clean renewable energy or oil and coal and gas, then we are also talking about increased production, which means that the people who live closest to those sources will continue to have higher rates of cancer, continue to have higher rates of infant mortality deaths, and continue to not see the benefit of what these technologies are supposed to bring. So how do we build equity into something like blockchain technology so that those who need it the most do not suffer the burden of that energy use?
I think with our platform, a lot of what we did a lot of work in the Caribbean and Jamaica, Puerto Rico. So for example, a lot of our perspective on sustainable energy is how do we lower the cost? Obviously, Bitcoin mining is very labor intensive, very energy intensive. So you take, for us, for example, I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. The price of a kilowatt of energy is about $10.37 per kilowatt hour. In Loiza, which is the Black portion of Puerto Rico, is 46 cents per hour. So that's extrapolated across, that price of energy is extrapolated across food, energy, industrial production. So how do we integrate them into the economy, I think is really where our focus can be is, and a lot of what we've done with KWH Coin is how do we democratize energy and make it accessible to everyone so that everyone can participate in this new economy. So I think there's going to be some environmental challenges whenever there's some production. I think we can be very mindful of the costs on the other side. You know, there's really no such thing as right or wrong. It's kind of who is opposing points of view, so whose perspective it is on. So I think we should put more emphasis on how are we more inclusive in our platforms to be a part of this, especially for the marginalized communities in the Caribbean.
You're all experts in your respective areas in terms of sustainable energy environment. What guidance do you give a novice to say, okay, where do I go to look at this data? Where do I go to find out for myself? And what can I do in my local communities or even contacting my legislators to advise them on the right direction to go that would be most beneficial to our communities?
Okay, I'll go. I think that's a really good question. So here's the thing. My view is that energy usage is a good thing overall because with energy, we're able to have a better quality of life. So as we're able to produce more energy and at a cheaper cost, then we can all have a better life for cheaper because the cost of energy is an input to everything that we buy. So when we see inflation going up, 9%, 10% year over year, that's because the price of gas is going up. So when the DoorDash delivery guy has to bring you the food, his costs are going up as well. So then all of the costs are going up across the board. So the cost of energy is baked into like every product and service. So if we can get cheaper energy and abundant energy, I think that is the long-term goal for everybody to be able to live and have a great life. And the best way that we can do that is to focus on how do we grow renewables. So I live in Texas. Texas has an abundant amount of solar and wind energy. But this wind and solar is in the middle of nowhere where there's no transmission lines to get it to where the people live. So you have this stranded energy that's just stuck out there. We can't get it to the people that need it. So Bitcoin mining specifically gives us kind of a solution to where now we can bring the miners to the source of the renewable energy, convert that energy into value, the Bitcoin itself at the place where it's created, and then that kind of increases the demand for building infrastructure. So now we can start to connect middle of nowhere Texas to Dallas to Houston to Austin, and then people can start to even move to these places where the solar and wind is generating, because you're able to then build a sustainable economy around these renewable sources. Whereas currently, as it's built, people will get credits from the government to build a wind farm, but then they are not able to use the wind farm because really the only reason they built it was for the credits, the governmental credits. So now we can actually use these things that are being built and actually generate the electricity and get the electricity to the people. That is the long-term goal, where in the long run, Bitcoin mining can actually improve the electrical grid throughout the country.
Great. To add to that, one great example, I think it was a year or two ago, Texas experienced a massive snowstorm that really destroyed the infrastructure, and that pointed to a greater issue, which is the centralization of the power grid and how that could be avoided. And when you take that concept and put it into the developing world, whether it's in the Caribbean or whether it's in Africa, whether there's a conflict going on, you do see how centralized ecosystems have neglected and affected people. So I think when we take a step back and look at the data and look at when we're researching, we have to take examples of things that have happened in the past, what went wrong, and really push to build effective infrastructure, especially when it comes to energy distribution, and also, again, going back into the environmental sustainability.
I think Green Button Alliance is a very good data source, especially if you want to understand and own your own energy data, not only as an individual citizen, but as a country or as an organization. So that can kind of be your framework for understanding, because I think there needs to be clarity, transparency, and visibility on energy usage, just so that we can understand who's producing what at what time. So I think Green Button Data Alliance is probably the best overarching source. And again, our focus, I think, is on making sure that with energy sustainability is multifaceted, and lowering the cost, I think, should have a lot more emphasis as we move forward.
I definitely think that folks should check the weather and pay attention to having caution in the face of uncertainty. As this technology continues to develop, we need to think about community-based solutions. The idea of a wind farm that nobody can touch, that doesn't actually benefit anybody, is not beneficial to my community. So when we think about the fact that we have billions of dollars that are going into infrastructure redevelopment, pay attention to that money and make sure that it goes to your communities, because right now it is not. And if we're not paying attention, it won't. So check the weather, pay attention. We'll continue to add that data, and thank you for that data source.
Awesome panel. Raven Moore, Michael Abraha, Gerard Newkirk, Harry Fulton. Thank you so much.